Welcome back to Albany County Direct Podcast. I'm your host, County Executive Daniel McCoy. Today we're talking about something that impacts businesses, nonprofits, and ultimately every taxpayer in Albany County. How can we make it easy to do business with Albany County government? I know everyone's listening to this right now going, yeah, okay, here we go. So this is your opportunity. Recently, we hosted our first Doing Business with Albany County roundtable, bringing together members of the community to hear directly from them about what's working, what's not, and what we can do to improve it. And one of the things we know we have to, and I'm going to introduce my guest in a second, we have to talk to more businesses, more outreach. We did get some good feedback, but we need more stakeholders in the room. We realize that. So this is the first of many that we're going to be doing. Joining me today is Albany County Purchasing Agent Pamela O Neill. Thank you for being here, Pam. I appreciate it. You've been with the county how many years now?
33 years.
33 years. You're deputy for how long?
For about 4 years.
4 years, right. Mm-hmm. So now, you take over, and then, we've always, and I was talking to Pam a little bit before we started, and I was president of New York State Association of Counties, and I remember Steve Aquario always talking about our purchasing, how good they were, but now you get outdated, and you have to figure it out, and even in today's technical world, people are like, things should be easier to find than they were, and we still get complaints, right? Mm-hmm. And that was like, when we just put a bid out, and they said, well, I didn't see it, and then we're like, well, no, she did it not just in New York State, she did it throughout the country, and but we're like, okay, we get this, and we want more people to bid, because that means sometimes you get a better product or mm-hmm. the same product and cheaper. So trust me, as I sit here talking to you, I want the best product, I want to expand the services, but most importantly, if we can spend less money, it's a win-win situation. So but I want to say, people not familiar with the purchasing division, you can explain that and why. What do you do?
Sure.
What's your function?
Well, thank you for having me here today. So the purchasing department, we're responsible for procuring all the goods and services for the county departments. We act as the liaison between the departments and the vendors, and essentially we work for the taxpayers of Albany County. We're the gatekeepers for the proper expenditures, and we have to follow the guidelines of general municipal law.
That's what I love, because you're going to be so technical and I'm not. So we'll have fun with this. I'm going to have fun with you. But Albany County, we award millions of dollars in contracts each year. What kind of opportunities are available for small businesses, big businesses,
Okay. So for big businesses, we do a lot of the construction projects. We do it for DGS for buildings. Not that we're building buildings right now, but any kind of reconstruction to building, we have all the construction documents and bidding for that. We do all the highway projects when we're reconstructing roads, building bridges. A lot of the commodity bids are the basic, plumbing, electrical, car parts, all the needed necessities that our departments need to function during out their processes. And we have a lot of the human services contracts that we do for Department of Children, Youth and Family, the Health Department, and Social Services.
Which, that's a lot, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she left out when it comes to the controller's office, the sheriff's office.
Yes, yeah.
Bruce Hidley, and you just think about all them different agencies and contracts that they're doing. You're part of all that too.
Correct. Yes.
We fall under one umbrella, right?
For all 34 departments, we do everything for them.
Right, and people don't realize that. So it might be going from ordering an AED to, light bulbs to, toilet paper, so to speak, to $1 million contracts.
Exactly.
And, we have a pretty tough policy in Albany County.
Yes.
It's one of the more restrictives, which is good, because, we want to follow everything, cross our T's and dot our I's. Mm-hmm. So I do want to thank you and your team for that. You and your whole team does extraordinary work, you and your deputy and all your workers there. So I do want to say personally thank you to all of them. And you brought this up to our attention about changing things, saying, hey, we have to get more with the times and go out there. So thank you for all that. What are some of the biggest misconceptions you hear from businesses about working with Albany County?
There's a few. So I do hear, people talk about like the bid and the RFP process is complex. We started over a year ago with RFPs, having them submitted electronically on BidNet. BidNet is the e-procurement platform. So essentially it gives vendors more time because they don't have to figure out the mailing process. That takes a couple days to get to us, or actually coming physically to our office location and dropping it off. Also, being able to submit everything electronically, it reduces a lot of the paper and file folders that we have to keep on our office.
We
want to be green.
We don't want all that paper out there.
Yes. So right now for the bids, we're not doing bids electronically just yet, but that is something that I want to visit and have. So the bids are basically just the commodity bids that we can have submitted electronically. Under general municipal law, we can't allow Article 8 construction bids. Those all have to be the old-fashioned.
See, I'm glad you said that, because people think we don't want to get with the times, right?
Yeah.
And the law has to change, and which is a state law, not a county law, so we can't change it.
Right.
We have to, we can supersede a state law. We can't go under a state law. And we talked to our representatives about this.
Mm-hmm.
We said, hey, this has to change. And sometimes in government, the hardest thing to do is look at the laws that are on the books, right? Laws you don't think about. And that's why I'm glad you're here today, because we don't know. Like, when I was a legislator, we'd pass a bill, and then when I become county executive many years later, one of the things we're like, well, that doesn't work. And I'm like, well, why didn't you tell us? And they're like, well, you're the legislature. No, and that's why I have you here, because who better than to talk to the experts that are in them departments that know how to function versus, and I'm not taking anything away from the policy role, but, we think, we want to do the right thing. And sometimes we're like, oh, no, someone, we find out some information. We're like, no, this works out better. And then sometimes, I hate to say this, my commissioners included, throw up the white flag, and they're like, all right, we'll just do it. And knowing it's going to hinder operation. And this is something that needs to be changed to come into the times so they can do it via email. And again, you're saving paper, you're saving time. And I think we get more bids if we did it that way, because not a lot of people have a time to put that all together and then mail it or hand deliver it, correct?
Correct.
And I'm glad we talked about, if someone submitted a bid or a proposal before, what advice would you give them before getting started? What would, if you wanted to say to them, hey, I want to submit a bid. I'm a small company or bigger. How do I become part of it, and how hard is the process?
Okay. So whenever I get a call or a vendor looking how to bid, so the first thing I always tell them is to register on BidNet. That's the e-procurement platform that we use. They can register as a free vendor, or they can do the paid subscription. Paid subscription gives them automatic notification for any commodity and services that they want to be notified for. Free vendor gives them access to go to the website and see what's available. So I always tell them to go there first. Once they find the solicitation that they're looking for, I ask them to, read through everything, make sure they understand the submission process, what documents are required that have to be submitted with the bid.
Yeah, because if they miss one document, it could cancel their they might have the best contract, but we got to follow it.
Right.
And we're like, all right, we know you forgot it, but we can't look the other way.
Right.
Someone else, so it's really sometimes having it reviewed. Do you work, if I came into you and I said, hey, here's my bid proposal. Is there anything I'm missing? Do you check it, or they just got to submit it?
I don't look at it just for legal reasons. I just don't want to. I don't want to see like if I see something that they made a mistake on, I don't want to be able to you have to correct that.
Right. No. But maybe that's something we can do in the future. Not that, but have classes and be like, hey, these are the steps. And I believe it's on your website how to do that.
Yes.
Right. So people can go to the website, the purchasing website, and you can see hey, here's your checklist. Make sure you have these documents. Make sure they're up to date, right?
Right. And they're also in the bid documents. We have the bid form. We have a checklist right on the bid form. So it's right before the signature page. So they know everything that needs to be submitted with that. So I also, once they download the documents and they review the scope of service, they should always check and see if there's any pre-bid or pre-proposal conferences that might be available to attend. Those are good to meet with the departments that's requesting the services, find out more about the services and actually what they're looking for. Once they do that, they will, start putting their bid or their proposal together. If they have any questions that they need to be answered formally, they all have to go through my office. They have to be put in writing so that we can issue addendums. because all the communication has to be put in writing. Otherwise, it's not binding.
Got you. But, it kind of falls into the next category that we're going to get into a little bit about this. What are some of the particular steps purchasing division is already taking to make, and I think you answered some of this, to make the procurement process more accessible and easier to understand, which you answered most of it, but I just...
Never hurts to reiterate. So currently, we did an RFP to hire a consultant to review our procurement policy and procedures. So we got 14 RFP submissions.
Oh, wow.
Which was quite a bit, yes.
It is.
So right now, we're just going through and reviewing that and scoring that to select a consultant. So, we're just... hopefully, once we get the consultant on board, they can review our current procedures and see if there's anything that we're not doing up to par, to look at our inefficiencies and notify, because we do have some efficiencies too.
No, it's the same thing like with audits. I know people get this notion, I don't like audits. It helps us. We're not perfect. We're going to make mistakes. We're humans.
Exactly.
And you know what? Every time there's an extra set of eyes looking at it and reviewing it, and then even though you've been there over 30 years, you sit there and go, oh, yeah, I didn't see that.
Right.
That's okay. We make mistakes. We just want to try to minimize the mistakes we're making, right, and make the process more easier. So by bringing a consultant in to say this, by doing these round tables, to saying, okay, what, and obviously we're under the state law, so we have to guide that. And then it's like, well, help us lobby the Senate and Assembly to change the law so we can do this and get with the times, or this law really should be off the books because it hurts. It doesn't meet today's time.
Right.
And a lot of that happens. The industry outgrows the law that was based on that time in, that snapshot, and if I'm saying that correctly, in time, that that why it was so effective at the time, and now it just kind of like handcuffs us going into the future. Right. So we have to pivot and change, and again, I get it, and I'm like, hey, when someone complains, well, they did this wrong or they did, okay, we're human. It's going to happen. You're going to have that, and we'll apologize and say we're sorry. But we really need to really look at it and say, okay, it's a learning curve. So let's make sure it doesn't happen again. And sometimes it does because it happens. But, with the consultant, with the round tables and everyone out in the community, helping out and saying, hey, what works, doesn't work, how we can make the process better.
Absolutely.
I commend you and your team.
Thank you.
For, bringing it to our attention, saying we need to get with the times. And I love it. And, one of the things I do want to say, to the listeners, please, if you're listening to this, and you do business with the county or want to do business with the county or do business elsewhere in some other county, and the process is a little bit easier, or how to improve something, please let us know.
Absolutely.
We want to try to get it right coming out of the gate, and it's taking a little bit longer. As everyone says in my office, I liked it done yesterday, but the reality is I know we have to get it right and fix the problem that we're having. And I shouldn't say problem we're having, to improve the process, to make it easier access for people. And like when I go to the trades on Mondays morning and I talk to all them, and I explain to them, here's all the contracts come out, here's all the projects. We don't hide it. We're like, it's not a secret. We want more bids. We want more people involved because I can save money. And we let them know, hey, we're working on this, we're working on that. Stay tuned. Pay attention. And I know people get busy, from small business owners to larger ones, and and people always say, well, it's always the larger ones know what's going on. No, we just, I believe, and you can correct me, we just did an RFP for insurance to redo our insurance, and it went out. And how many bids came back on that?
I want to say three, possibly. Yeah. Right.
Or in the same thing with our banking, and I thought more people would come back with more proposals, because we want that. We want to do business where, again, we can save money.
Right.
Continue the service of that contract, but improve on it. But bottom line is, I need to save money, right? So, especially on funded mandates I just got from the state. So, and the more we can tighten that up, the better we can serve the people of the county and do things. So, finally, if someone's listening today and wants to start doing business, like I said, with Albany County, and you talked about the first steps and that type of stuff, what can they expect from that? So if I submit a contract, what's the waiting period? What's the time frame until they get to you?
Every contract is different. If
Okay.
it's an easy commodity bid, they're usually awarded by my staff members within the office. It's usually done within the week. When you have proposals, they take longer because you have to set up your review team. You have to go through that process of scoring and selecting a vendor. It also depends on the contract dollar amount, whether you have to go to the contract board for approval or if you have to submit it for the legislature. So timelines are different for every project.
Okay, no, I'm glad because I get that all the time. I'm like, I don't know. And they're like, well, when's it going to be? I have no idea. And now I don't want to know because you just, brought that question up to me. But, one of the things that I wanted you to just briefly, and I know you talked about BidNet and Empire State Purchasing Group. What are they to someone that doesn't understand that, BidNet?
So that is an e-procurement platform. That is where we post all of our bids, RFPs, RFQs. You can go to the document or go to the website and download all of the documents. When I started working here in 1993, we would print out all of the documents. We would make 10 different copies of bids and RFPs and wait for everybody to come into the office and pick it up. This is just so much easier for a vendor to register, see what's available, download all of the bidding documents, any addendums that may have been associated with it. Depending on what's a bid or an RFP, RFPs you can submit electronically, or as I noted before, the bids have to be handed in personally.
Okay. And, I want to say one thing I emphasized during the roundtable is that it wasn't meant to be a one-time event, like I've been saying through this whole podcast. This is going to be ongoing conversations with our business community, with people just in general, getting more feedback, and taking the feedback that we received and saying, okay, we already do this or we don't, and let's try to add this because if it makes sense, again, and improving our communications.
Yes.
Simplifying the process and create opportunity for local businesses, nonprofits to compete for Albany County work because, we want that. But Pam, thank you for joining me today for everything you do to make Albany County a trusted partner for businesses across our community. This is your last chance to say something today on this topic.
Well, I think this is great that we're starting to do this because I think keeping that open line of communication is going to help us improve. And I thank you for inviting me today. I look forward to doing more.
Thank you for being here and giving just a little quick 30-second into how purchasing department works and what we're trying to change. And I do want to thank you for the extraordinary work that you and your team do because it's vital to our operation. And quite honestly, we can't do anything without you. So we got to make sure you're happy, right? And thank you for the listeners. And if you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to check out other episodes on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Subscribe so you never miss an update. And thanks for listening to Albany County Direct. See you next time.